All right. Hey, man, I think I like being scared. What's up, everyone?
Me too.
Jack Mangan.
Is it hellacious acres out there in Arizona or what?
It's hot. It's December and it's hot. But
Yeah,
that's not why people are tuning in. They're not tuning in for the weather report in
right.
Arizona. Um, yeah, I'll introduce me, then I'll STF you and talk to my cooler mates on this call. So I'm Jack Mangan. We support life and music from the amazing MetalAsylum.net. We've done some work at the Metal Hall of Fame. Lots of other places, but it's not about me. It's about the other two gentlemen on this call. I'll start with my buddy from New Jersey, Rich. What's up, man?
It's really about Jason's Dangerous Toys, right? But
Yes.
I am Rich Catino from what, Jason?
I was just going to say, well, let's keep it going. It's not really about you or me anymore. It's about Jack. Jack?
The other Jack, Jack Frost. Yes, that's what it's about.
Oh, shit.
Well, yeah. So, Rich Catino from Metal Asylum and Brave Words and the Metal Hall of Fame and Sea of Tranquility. And we are joined by Jason McMaster, who's got a lot going on, who you guys all know from the great Dangerous Toys, right? Everybody?
Oh my
Yay.
God, yes.
Amongst other projects, right? You got a couple new things coming up too, so we'll talk about all that, right?
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jason. It's an honor
Yeah,
talking to you
welcome.
again, man.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thanks for having me. Good to be here and talk shop.
Yeah. So all three of us will get in trouble if we don't start with Night Terror, which is, I mean, well, how fucking awesome is this thing? Oh yeah, it's okay to curse. Oh,
Yeah, let's
with
don't
it.
get in trouble.
Yeah. But Night Terror, I mean, what an amazing EP. Jack Frost, as we just mentioned, one of the world's best guitar players, Carl Wilcox. We got Eric Ragno, Dennis Hayes. What an incredible album. So I mean, and it's heavy, it's hard hitting, man. What a great accomplishment. So tell us, I don't know, in your own words, man, tell us about Night Terror.
I've been running into Jack Frost off and on for probably 20 years. Obviously saw Sabotage a couple times with him on guitar and um, was always the biggest smile in the room, the longest hair, the nicest guy, uh, and um, was always really sweet to me and everyone around him. And that continued as the years went on, and I would bump into him at festivals or shows or whatever. He contacted me a couple of years ago to collaborate on this Night Terror stuff. But the some backstory is my buddy James Rivera sang on the first, I believe it to be the first Seven Witches record, and Alan Tecchio, who is a good friend of mine, as well as James, uh, sang on the second or the third or whatever it was Seven Witches record. So there's this big incestuous family going on, obviously, and Texas meets New Jersey. I feel like I'm an honorary member because I have quite a few collaborative efforts. Like Dan Lorenzo, I'd made two records with Cassius King, and I love that material. And so, the Seven Witches thing has a big footprint and a legacy of some kind. And so when he cornered me about it a couple of years ago, I was like, for sure. It's welcome. Thanks for welcoming me to the family. So, he started. I don't know how far along he was at that point with the songs. I mean, these compositions might have already been in the can when he called me. I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, because I've been in Texas the whole time, and I've never met Dennis, and I've never met Carl, and I'd have to ask you the keyboard player's name again because I don't know these guys. And that's very common these days because, you know, I I make records all the time with people I've never met going back 20 years now. So it's very, very common. Um he's Jack starts sending me songs, and my process is pretty much, one of two or three things, and that's, Sometimes I'll grab from the mountains of little slips of pieces of paper that I have everywhere with phrases and words and paragraphs and partial lyric ideas, or notebooks I have and things like that. And I try to sing melodies and come up with phrases that the song, the riff wants me to, right? Sometimes it's kind of like transcendent, and sometimes it's a little bit more work than that. And I think the first song I wrote was the song Behind the Leaves. And the second one, I believe, was Dying Days. And I kept, I tried to stay on top of it. And I kept bugging Jack. I was like, make sure you give me plenty of time here. He goes, there's no deadline. I was like, yes, this is awesome. I can take my time, because I have my irons in many fires, or many irons in many fires, however it goes.
To say the least. Yeah.
And so, you know, it was going well. And, uh, fast forward, I sent him, lyrics and finished stems for vocals for a song called Terrors in the Night. And the whole time I'm thinking in my head, okay, this is going to be a full length album, not an EP, and it's going to be called Seven Witches. I mean, even the songs that I had, five original and then the cover song of Lights Out by UFO,
Mm.
the five originals said, 7W1, 7W2, working titles. Well, that's Seven Witches. So
Mm.
in my
Mhm.
brain, I'm going, okay, I wrote lyrics for, 7W3 or whatever, right? And so I'm sending all these in, and after I had sent in, I don't think I was done with everything yet. I sent in song three or four, which would have been Terrors in the Night. And he calls me, Jack calls me, he goes, I'm changing the name of the project. And I'm like, whoa, hey, whoa, Seven Witches, you got this, foot people know you from that. They associate that. What are you doing? Are you sure? Is that kind of a conversation? And he's like, yeah, and I didn't really get a reason why. And whatever, it's kind of his baby. So, I didn't, it was like, sure, man, whatever you want to do. I'm easy. And he goes, I'm going to call it Night Terror. I'm like, oh, well, I just turned in my head. I'm going, I just turned in, Terrors in the Night. Surely that has everything to do with you calling the band Night Terror.
Mm.
But those words didn't come out. I was like, I think I see what you did there, or something like that. And
Mhm.
he goes, chuckle, chuckle, yeah. And I said, well, you got to tie it in with Seven Witches, man. You're leaving a whole, bouquet behind,
Mm.
And he goes, oh yeah, I'll come up with something for the title. I go, make sure it has the word witches in it. And I go, well, you don't have a title. What are you going to call it? He goes, oh, I don't know. I'll come up with something. And I go, well, just make sure that you call it something with witches in it, like, I don't know, Return of the Witches or something like that. Boom, that's it. Click, hangs up.
That works.
So that's kind of how that sort of came to be, and with very little embellishment. So that's pretty much
Nice.
how this sort of came together. And Terrors in the Night's probably my favorite song. I want to say Remedy is in the Poison was one of the latter songs that I penned.
Mm.
And Dying Days, I'll mention that that's the only one. This rarely ever happens when I collaborate with people. They'll send me the tune, rough mixes, whatever, and I got it going, and I got my lyrics going, and I'm rocking, and I'm I'm fixing stuff as I go, because I'm singing it, I'm writing it as I go. It's just in my process, right? I mean, I'm live, the red light's on, and I'm rocking it. I
Mm.
don't write the melodies first. I try to just sing some dummy words. If I have lyrics, I'll try to make them fit. And since I have the music hearing for the first time and very little to work with usually, like I said, just bits and pieces of stuff. And Dying Days, I'm moving right along and things are going good. And then there's no, it's like I got a verse and I got a chorus and I got another verse and then boom, there's where I hit a wall, like where, they changed it up on me. I'm like, they're sticking a bridge or a breakdown or something where I'm still wanting to tell my story.
Mhm.
It's like, hey guys, I ain't done yet. And so I did some crude editing and sent everybody, the engineer and the everybody, hey guys, I don't mean to step on your creation here, but here's my reasoning why. But I edited, the song map so I could show them my vocal, my layout.
Sure.
And of course they were like, sounds great, no problem, click, it's like, wow, okay, great. So the engineer Jeff, I'm going to say his last name wrong, so I'll leave it out. Um, Jeff, super super nice. Never met him either. All emails, and he goes, "Yeah, I got it. I see where all your edits are. I can fix this." And he sends me a new version, and I lay my vocals that way. But that was the only one that sort of needed some nip and tuck. I out of two records that, whatever it was, 20 songs, 22 songs that I did with Cassius King and Dan Lorenzo, it was the same thing. There was only one song that I had to cut up a little bit. It was barely any. So I love it that it's that easy for me, you know, to work with people who are like, yeah, no problem, cool. Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
Ooh, I like that. Or hey, what about this? And I usually have a reason why that's going to work or not. But yeah, that's kind of how it went. That was the process. And I've never met Dennis and I've never met Carl. I've never spoken to either of them. Um, and there's no plans to tour because geographically it's a nightmare. We only have
Sure.
5 songs and a cover song. So that those questions I've answered those if you had them on your list. The the video, the label, I think Jack was involved with Deco Entertainment with outsourcing, or maybe he was in on the staff. I don't know. Somebody friends with Deco Entertainment was putting together a video for Remedy is in the Poison, which was chosen by Jack as a video for the video.
Mhm.
And it was an anime type of an app they were using where they were literally drawing the guys in the band like kind of rocking out on stage, and it was hilarious looking, like cartoony, and
Hmm.
didn't sit with me you know the emotional value in you know heavy metal is dramatic and stressful sound. It's
Mhm.
like usually the story being told by the singer and the guitar is so frantic and has this whole color
Mhm.
and peak and valley, right? And this anime was quite one-sided and very just clunky, you know. And no disrespect at all. It was, the guy was like, well, because I think I sheepishly sent the guy an email. I wish I knew the guy's name because he was only trying to help. And I was like, this is, I pretty much said what I just told you guys. And he goes, look, I'd need to spend a lot of money on a badass application to make it do what it's missing. Then I go, well, then, I called Jack. I was like, we can't, it's not going to work.
Mhm.
I mean, he was drawing me without my shirt on. I haven't taken my shirt off in public or on stage in like 30 years, man. I'm just not that confident. So, So I talked Jack into letting me make a video, and I got everybody to just kind of, man, set your iPad up and just put some party lights on and go to town and send it to me and I'll throw some effects on it and we'll make a cool little, cheap video like Van Halen did Jump and we're done.
Mhm.
And we did. And it came out cool.
Cool.
And, everybody spends a lot of money on cameras and producers and lighting and, they have to rent out a big room and all this stuff. And then they take those really high dollar shots and they're putting filters on them to make it look scratchy and gritty and messed up. Why don't you just shoot it with crappy gear so it's already messed up?
Mhm.
Anyway,
Right.
that's where we are with it. It's a fun project, and I hope people like it, and I hope it's moving a little bit.
Well, I gotta say, well, I don't want to take up all the time. I know Rich has got like a million questions, but I'll say one more
Great,
thing. So I think
yeah,
it's the story you just told to me sounds like the story of a bunch of professionals who are not prima donnas who value good relationships and being professional and of course putting out a great product and great artistic creation, not just a fucking product, but that's the story I'm hearing, and I think that's refreshing.
yeah,
That's a good thing, not like, oh, I'm saying this as a joke because Jack Frost is a good friend and a great guy, as you just said. Like where you call
yeah.
Jack,
Oh
he's like,
yeah.
no, no, you got to do it my way or the highway. Like Jack is
No, he's the opposite of
awesome.
that.
You're
He's
right,
the
right.
opposite of that. Yeah, he
So
doesn't want to do it his way or the highway. He's
right.
open to any suggestion he's got. He's just hyperactive guitar player man with the biggest smile in the room. That's all.
And yeah, and like I said, you're right. Everything you said about him is right. We got to stop
Yeah,
complimenting him. He's going to get a big ego out of this. But Jack, yeah, he truly is one of the best people in the industry. And again, you really would be hard pressed to get a better guitar player, especially for the sound. He's just seriously, I'm blown away by his playing. He just does some amazing things like in that
yeah.
in
He
that.
he makes it look real easy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's great, and I mean, it's all right. The last thing I'll ask, and then I'll shut up and let Rich kind of take over. So do you know any insights? Did Jack just say, "Hey, we're doing the UFO song," or was it, or was there some talk about like, "Hey, we got to throw in a cool cover"?
N- No, it was like I said. I think that I could be wrong, but I was never told. Here you go. Here's all six tunes, and by the way, one of them's a UFO song. I was literally waiting for five more because I thought it was going to be a Seven Witches album and not
Right.
a Night Terror EP. Just to put it in a nutshell. So once he confirmed, he's like, no, 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 it's an EP. Okay, all right, that's a piece of cake. I'll get this out of the way and move on to this other stack of stuff I got to do for this guy. You know,
Mhm.
not that I, tried to rush anything because I never try to rush anything. If I'm juicy, I keep going. I'll stay up. I won't sleep. I won't eat. I'll just stay right here. I'm fiend for creativity. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, it sounds great. I mean, I will say, it definitely leaves me wanting more. So I hope for more from Night Terror, for sure. It's a great sounding record. Rich, I don't know. I'm going to turn it over to you. I've been taking up all the oxygen. Go ahead, Rich.
We got a related question to the album. So since you have that other band Igniter, which are also traditional heavy metal, was it what were you thinking when you were singing for Night Terror and then singing for that band because they have new music that came out last year? So so you don't sound like you're doing the same thing with two traditional heavy metal bands, right?
No,
Did
I
you do
get it.
something,
Well,
did you do something different? Did you approach the songs different? What was your thought doing Night Terror?
I felt like the timbre of most of I could see the comparisons, but most of the to give a legit answer, uh, because I have a quip I could have said first, but I'll give you the heartfelt first. There's a little bit of similarities in the timbre of Igniter. If people listening don't know Igniter, it's a very pissed off Iron Maiden
Mhm.
kind of a power metal band
Yeah.
because there's thrash elements, there's kind of punk elements, but there's also stuff that sounds like old Scorpions when they
Hmm.
used to kind of get kind of like, you know, the Scorpions used to sound kind of angry, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so
Yeah.
we have a little bit of that element. I think it's very European
That's it.
style of kind of power metal, Igniter. And I
Hmm.
feel like Night Terror has some of that same, but
Hmm.
less fast, merciful fate and more of a bouncy sabotage.
Hmm.
which could lend itself to, something related to Holy Diver,
Hmm. Okay.
uh, which is different than Igniter. Like I
Yeah.
said, angry Iron Maiden, and then
Yeah.
something that's a little more bouncy. And I
Yeah.
don't mean that because obviously Night Terror has the Iron Maiden influence too.
Right.
And I'll say this, I've said it in a couple of interviews already. I'll say that Remedy is in the Poison. Next time you listen, when you listen to that intro, if Steve Harris were to play a fretless bass on Remember Tomorrow, the song
Mhm.
Remember
Yeah.
Tomorrow, it
Mhm.
would sound like the beginning of, I mean, it's very close. And I
Interesting.
was I was happy about that. I was like, "Oh, Remember Tomorrow, I got this." So
Mhm.
if I would have started singing Unchain the Color, it would have worked.
Yeah.
Before my eye, but I did not. I refrained. So
That's a really good Paul Diano, by the way.
say
Yeah.
that again. Say what?
That's a really good Paul Diano. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The way you
Oh,
just sang
well,
that. That is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that's a free one for you because I don't, how do I love Paul Diano, and
Mhm.
I guess it's kind of natural for me. I've sang that one a few times, but anyway, so I wanted to say that like you know there's like four other things that I do
Mhm.
that you could have asked me about where I would have a similar answer, like
Yeah.
comparing Igniter to
Mhm.
this project that no one really knows about yet. And then
Okay.
there might be two or three other things that are just, if you have to put it in the a pundit's box that says power metal on it, it would just go in there. But it's
Mhm.
more than just, power metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got so much more to it, but that's kind of where people are now. Traditional metal, right?
Yeah.
I don't even think
Yeah.
Igniter is just traditional metal.
Mhm.
There's so many great and meh power metal bands.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. It's
You know
true.
what I mean?
Right.
So I,
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
I'm adding a little bit to both.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sure not the math part. All right, I got. I'm going against my word. I'm sorry, Rich. I got to jump in. So I can't let you off this call without bringing up the Elton John cover band because you mentioned that when you're on with Slam. So how does that fit in with your whole big picture?
Um, we don't play very often. We ramped up and played a handful of shows, over the past, few years. Pretty much, I could just say post COVID, right? Because we
Mm.
had a bunch of stuff booked, that was happening at the top of COVID, and those we just went away. Um, so we did kind of get back on the horse and do a few of those, and it was fun. And in the interim, somewhere, um, me and the bass player, his name's Zeke Zimmerman, for that project, which we call Captain Fantastic, and there's 1,000 Elton tributes called Captain Fantastic, but we want people to know what era we're playing, so we just call it that. And who knows? Maybe they'll think it's the badass Captain Fantastic and come see us instead and go, "Oh, this ain't the same guys, but hey, I like Elton. I'll go see." And we'll take their money. So anyway, we'll be the imposter. Anyway, so I started collaborating with a couple of people from that project and this sounds a little bit cheeseball, but not to me. Um, to write that kind of, dare I say, yacht rock or AM Gold or songs from 77 skating rink, pre Stranger Things, ELO, Billy Joel, 75 Elton John meets like David Bowie, Life on Mars
Mhm.
type of a melancholy, meets Queen, like a melancholy, cellos and synthesizer and everything rooted. The germ starts with a piano doodle, as I like to call them. So back to that. I'm writing songs now. I'm four songs into. I don't know if it's going to be a solo record. I don't know if I'm going to come up with a band name. I don't know if I'm just going to call it Elton's Army. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm writing this. I don't even want to call it pop music. I played it for a coworker and they said it sounded like neo soul. And that's okay, but that to me, that's like, okay, it's power metal, throw in that box over there. Neo soul just sounds like a pundit made it up, some guy at Rolling Stone. I don't know. I don't know what to say when someone says, "Oh, it's neo soul," and like, are you trying to put it in a box? It didn't bum me out because people think, "Oh, Jason McMaster, yeah, he's a screaming demon," and they go, "Neo soul." So
Yeah.
obviously I'm not singing screaming demon,
Right. Yeah.
with this stuff. It's very melancholy and it's
Mm.
serious, and I'm trying to write songs that, lyrics that are like an old photo album you find at grandma's at Christmas and go, "Whoa, this is crazy. Is that dude still alive?" Or "Wow, the neighborhood hasn't changed at all. Wow, that guy still lives with his parents." Things that make you think that, I don't know,
Mm.
the smell of apple pie on the windowsill. It can be as cheesy as you want. It can be visiting your a loved one at the graveyard and having this emotional cry about it, and literally creating that feeling within a storyline, the way that Bernie Taupin and Elton used to do in the 70s, about because Elton and Bernie went dark on those 70s records quite often, and
Yeah,
that
wow.
sort of sad cowboy kind of stuff. Speaking of that, I wrote 4 country songs during COVID. So I have 2 Christmas songs available on streaming, and they're not like "fuck Christmas" or, Twisted Sister heavy metal Christmas songs.
Yeah.
It's like songs that I wrote that I would want people to play for grandma,
Cool.
like serious Christmas songs.
Mm.
I don't know if they're any good, but I took it serious enough to try to be a songwriter, and not just grabbing a mic and screaming and headbanging all the time.
Mm.
So, but I'm glad you brought that up, Jack, and I'm trying to do something different with that. I'm willing to go to sing black metal next, and then I'm willing to sing, you know, full on Mariah Carey on the other end of the stick. If my ability allows me in my elder state.
Love it. All right,
Yeah.
Rich. Well,
Yeah.
thanks, guys. Thanks, Rich, for
Yeah,
and thanks, Jason. That was
yeah.
great. All right, Rich, please, please.
Let's talk about Demolition a little bit. So there's
Okay.
10 songs on that. I've seen your recent interviews about that album, that they're songs that were, leftovers that did not make the Pissed or Hellacious Acres record. But you said you have a lot more songs. So how many are kind of ready to go if you were asked by the label to do Demolition 2?
Oh, we could do Demolition 2, Demolition 3, probably even Demolition 4.
With songs that are actually like pretty good quality that people would want to hear, like
There,
Rock Shot Cowboy and Rattle My Cage are really like great quality. They're album quality. So how many do you have that are on that level?
okay, let's get into the storytelling here. So
Okay.
it's ironic to me that, well, I'll backpedal. You know, Basically Cleopatra's been talking to Scott, my guitar player, and I think one day the conversation was, "What do you guys just got laying around?"
Mm.
During COVID, I was busy. Obviously, I digitized. I have boxes of old cassettes of songs of demos that were recorded on 4-track and 8-track Fostex and Tascam in the jam room between late '91 and late '93. And so when, recently, what do you guys got laying around? It's like, I'm like, Scott calls and I'm like, I digitized all that crap, because it's not great. You know, it was rejected from Sony, which in our minds, that must mean it's crap. So I have a story about that as well. Um, but, you know, fast forward to where you are with, you're complimentary of Rock Shot Cowboy and
Rattle My Cage.
Rattle My Cage. Those were actually recorded in a studio paid for by the publishing company
Mm.
around early '92, maybe late '91, upon our return home from Operation Rock and Roll Tour. And they said, "What do you got?" it was them back then. We were still on Columbia, where they were like, "What do you got?" Oh, we got, put a few things together. We actually recorded Rock Shot Cowboy, Rattle My Cage, and then Backstreet Girl, which conveniently Cleopatra has released as the first three singles.
Mm-hmm.
And then Come Out Swinging is another one they've released as well.
Yeah.
And that was actually done on a 4-track.
Hmm.
So, but in the in the it, to get nitpicky about those three songs that are on Demolition, that I say were recorded in a pro studio. We don't have the masters of those. We still have rickety, warbly cassette tapes that we're using to,
Oh,
master or, turd polishing process
yeah.
to turn into the label so they can put it on this project, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all I have is a messed up cassette tape, and we're just trying to clean it and straighten it out and, make it sound, with just digital mastering tools or whatever. And this is me and Scott going back and forth trying to just, oh, that's better. Okay. And then, you listen to what we had and you're like, oh, no, they'll notice that it's not great, but they're going to, obviously the ones that were recorded, multi-track, more, 16 or 32 tracks or whatever it was are
Yeah.
obvious. And that's obviously what they conveniently used as singles right out of the gate. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
they're just warming everybody up before they release a single that has, tape hiss and tape
Mm-hmm.
warble and is not a very good song in the first place or whatever. But so
Mm-hmm.
far the record came out today officially. So um but yeah, I mean, all those songs laying around, it's kind of like, all the work we really had to do was polish the turds. We had to get some artwork and do some liner
Mm-hmm.
notes and things like that, but the song's just sitting there on a rotting tape. It's kind of where
Yeah.
we are. But I think Demolition is a cute name for the record because it's demos. It's all rejected demos from the label. And the story on
Mm-hmm.
that, it was probably in '92 where we really started digging in and writing songs and writing songs and writing songs. And I must make note that the songs that ended up on Pissed,
Mm-hmm.
our third studio record, those songs were culled from this same era, this interim between end of '91 and end of
Okay.
'93. Those
Yep.
songs on Pissed were culled from the same sessions, just so everybody knows. And so, other than the Piss songs, what we had for Demolition was the
Mm-hmm.
leftovers. But the story goes like this: somewhere in '92, we're like, you know, weekly sending 4 or 5 new songs recorded on a 4-track or an 8-track and mixed as best we could,
Mm-hmm.
and then burned and sent to management. They send to the label, and the label calls every week and goes, nope, keep writing. Nope, keep writing. Oh, pretty good. Nope, keep writing. And this went on for months and months and months. I mean, that interim is not weeks, it's months, if not a year and a half or so, right? And one day we just all said, "Man, this is the probably the best this is gonna get." These songs are probably with this lineup and what it is that we've got here. This is as good as it's. These are the songs that we write. This all sounds like Dangerous Toys to me. Does someone out there want us to sound any different than this?
Right.
Because it's just not really going to happen. I mean, we wrote some interesting songs. I mean, Rattle My Cage is a burner. I mean, it's a
Mm-hmm.
quite different than probably quite a 90% of what's on any of our records.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe closer to a Tin Boots, but it's faster than Tin Boots.
Mm-hmm.
It could have gone on to Pissed. It could have been on the Pissed record. As a matter of fact, it was probably that close to being on the Pissed record.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and you know, we eventually just called management and said, "Hey, can you call Sony, Columbia, and just say, hey, we're ready to make a record and you're standing in our way. Can you let us get the fuck out of here? Can you please drop us? You know, whatever you say, can let us go professionally, whatever." And it turns out there was money in the pipeline. And so we got paid to be dropped. Pretty nice. Score.
Doesn't
Didn't
happen
know.
that often either.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So obviously we had sold enough records,
Yeah.
probably, you know, Hellacious Acres stuff, you know, residuals laying around that they oh, we owe you some money too, and yeah, sure. And then, you know, and then we went and made Pissed in March of '94. So it really wasn't, you know, it was a year or so after that, because we did a tour in '93. We didn't have a record out, but we played some of these songs. I think we played One on One live. We played Rhapsody and Barbed Wire, maybe even a couple more
Hmm.
that have been were actually played on a tour that we did in '93.
Mhm.
So maybe a
Cool.
couple of them in '94 lasted that long, but anyway, that's kind of how that all came together.
All right, Jack, what
Cool.
do you got? What's next?
Well, let me switch gears a little bit, and actually, I might even cut this out. We'll use this for Metal Sci. I might use this for Support Life and Music too. I want to ask you, Jason, as a self-described elder statesman, what would you say? Like, if my adult kid came to you and said, "Hey, got this group of people together. We got a band where we kick ass. We're ready to take the next step." What would be like your top advice for them to contend with the whole industry, including the streaming era? Like, what would be your advice to a young kid today who's trying to get their band going?
You know, write the best song you can, record it, and play it for your friends and your family, and play it for people you don't know because they're going to tell you the truth. Because usually mom and dad or your best friends are going to go, "You're the greatest in the world." And that's probably not true. But
Hmm.
if you believe it, you're in trouble, because then you call DistroKid and you register all your songs and you put it out, and you don't really have anything to compare it to yet, you know? So write as many songs as you can and realize why you like one song better than the other. Realize that maybe the collaborations are working really well and growing into this sound, and not just, three chords and yabba dabba doo and chopping broccoli and I'm a little kid playing rock and roll. And I wrote 100 songs. Well, okay, that's great. 11-year-old rock star. How many of them are good? So apply that to like a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old. It's the same answer.
Hmm.
It has to develop. Go book a gig and play those early compositions and try to get a reaction. If you're cleaning the room, you're not ready. If you're drawing and then magically rare making money, something is cool. Think about that. Like, give yourself your own report card off of the accolades or those little uh you know steps across the river. Oh, we're on the other side now. Think of it like that, as one step at a time, because I feel like you're going to learn about yourself. You're going to learn, do I really want to collaborate with these other people in this particular project or this band? All for one for all. And then you realize, oh shit, yeah, this guy just wants to write all the songs and he won't let me write my song. There has to be, you know what I mean? Growing up. It's called growing
Hmm.
up. So make sure you try to grow up a little bit if you're young, and even, 19 and 20 and 20, that's not grown up. Says the guy who made the first Toys record at 22. It's not grown up. It's not, man. You're still dumb. I didn't like any song or lyric I ever wrote till I was 30. And that's not the songs that get me mailbox money. Interesting that. So,
Yeah. Great. Rich, I don't, did you want to parlay on that? You want to add to that
Yeah,
line of questioning?
somehow, I got a related question about the industry. So, for a band who's been around for 30 years, how do in the music industry, how do you like your debut here, right? I got the vinyl here. So, for
Nice.
somebody who's got a record that's this old, how do you get the either the rights or control or profit from your records and your music? Do you get it over time? Do you get it through, business? How does this happen that you guys get the money that you deserve for your music as it continues to sell in the future and things like
Yeah,
that?
you get a lawyer and you terminate your copyright.
Oh, you terminate
Copyright copyright terminations and you renegotiate your deal.
with the record label or somebody
Yes.
else? You
Yes.
do. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Because they own you.
Right.
Hmm.
If they ultimately paid for your studio time and they own the tapes that you recorded your intellectual property on, they still own you. Your argument doesn't really, you can go in with a lawyer and argue that like Ray Charles and Buddy Holly and all the OG badasses, James Brown and hey radio station, how come you're not playing my songs?
Mm,
Oh well, it's like to sign of the times too, way back then, right?
sure.
So James Brown bought the radio stations. He bought the radio station. So now all they play is James Brown. So that's one
Hmm.
way to do it, but that's an
How does it
investment.
work for you guys? How does
Yeah.
it work for like your debut? Let's say. How does it work
Well,
for?
I think that over time, I don't know what it says in our contract. It probably is about 30 years. We
Mm,
have the right to go in and buy the masters back. And I bet they don't even have the masters anymore, but you're
mm,
basically buying your rights to that material back. And then a lot of bands, I don't know how I feel about this because you're kind of like erasing classic rock history. A lot of
mm,
bands just re-record all their old songs so they can keep all the money when people download it. And it
mm.
just stinks. Because a lot
Yeah.
of fans, they want to hear the OG, man. They want to hear the original mix.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like especially in metal nerds, man, they want to hear the original
Yeah.
lo-fi, not remastered. They
Mhm.
want the original, how they want it to sound like it did when they fell in love with it.
Mm.
So I like remasters because sometimes, man, they just add that kick drum and that guitar and that frequency that was never there and that you tried to get 30 years ago. And for
Mhm.
whatever reason, it came back and you're like, oh, well, okay. You know what I mean? Because it's the
Yeah.
money spent. Decisions are being made for you as soon as you sign a dotted line with too many names on it.
Well,
So,
and
yeah, it's
talking about
possible.
that,
But in answer to your question, I would need lawyers to go in and try to buy
mm,
all that back, and then I'd have to find somebody to put it out because I couldn't afford to put it out. See
mhm,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
Would start my own record label to put out my own. I mean, I guess I could do it, but
mhm,
that's going to get pricey too.
yeah. I was going to say, speaking of, you're talking about remastering and things. Would you? Because I think this album, great songs, could probably use a little adjustments, right? A little tweaking.
Yeah, we're talking to somebody about something that relates to your question and
Oh,
exactly
cool.
what we're talking about. We're talking to somebody about licensing and reissuing and remastering the Sony music stuff. So
Nice, nice.
yeah, so Hellacious Acres, I have high hopes for it.
Mhm,
In the where we are with it right now in negotiations, I have high hopes for it.
cool.
I'm hoping that in the next year or two, there'll be new versions of those on every format coming out with a remaster that just gives it a little bit more kick,
Yeah,
especially Hellacious Acres.
yeah, yeah. I think the debut has a little bit of a better sound and a little right with frequencies and things, and not like Hellacious Acres, right?
Yeah, when you hear the mastering job and you compare the names and who mastered it and where they mastered it, both
Hmm.
were done in New York, but I believe by two different mastering houses.
Okay.
And Roy Thomas Baker, who did Queen and Cheap Trick and Cars and Journey and every Bad Company, everybody else, um, his guy did his thing, and then Max Norman, Megadeth, Ozzy, whatever, did the
Mhm.
first album,
Mhm.
and his just seems preferred. I loved
Mhm.
working with Roy, but Max is awesome and
Yeah.
preferred, I think. Tonally, you know,
Mhm.
like I can hear a record nowadays and go, that sounds like Max Norman recorded that
Yeah.
record. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
high hopes for both.
Yeah. Same here. I really like Hallease Sakers. I think it needs a reissue.
Thanks. Me
Yeah.
too.
No, and I love what you just said, Jason. I think it's so true. Like just for example, we keep talking about early Maiden, but could you imagine if Steve Harris said, "Hey, we're re-recording the original album"? I'd feel like, no, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear it, all those imperfections. I want to hear like that original terrible, terrible sounding mix of the debut
Well,
Maiden album. So,
Sharon tried it with Ozzy and failed.
mhm.
You know
Right.
about that, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Re-recording parts of Diary and Blizzard.
yeah, that's a
Yeah,
whole other show. That's
Yeah.
she did that because she didn't want to pay the guy who wrote all the songs,
Yeah. It's crazy.
didn't want him to get any performance royalty anymore. It is crazy. Freaks me
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
yeah.
Bob
Jack,
Daisley, ladies and gentlemen. Bob Daisley. Bob Daisley. That's who you want. Bob Daisley. Look for his name. Read his book. It's called For Fact's Sake. Okay, rant over.
No, that's
Jack, do you
true.
have
And
one?
Leakers like too. No, I mean, I really want to say, feel free, Jason, please. I would say thank you. I mean, I don't. I think the last thing I'll say. And I hope I'm not cutting you off on anything, Rich. I'd say just please promote anything else you have coming up. 2026 is, as
Right.
we're
Yeah. What
recording
are you
this, right
doing
around the
next year?
corner.
Yeah. What do you got going on next year?
Yeah.
Um, I have a band called Hot Shot, and it's basically because, about 6 years ago, I started fronting Dirty Looks, one of my favorite bands of all time.
Mhm.
And it was like a 2.0, version because the late, great Henrik Ostergaard, no longer with us, really had his own thing going on with that kind of, butt rock or whatever you want to call it. Just heavy but catchy, you know,
AC/DC style.
yeah, but like almost like borderline turning into Accept.
Yes, that
You know
too.
what
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
Right.
nasty vocals and
Mhm.
just a little bit chainsaw, but that
Yeah.
boogie woogie thing going on too.
Yeah.
Right.
And Broken Teeth does that a little bit. Broken Teeth has been writing. I'll just clump it all together. Broken Teeth has been writing. We have enough songs for a new record, but we're going to probably write about 5 more songs and think about recording next year sometime. But in the meantime, Hot Shot is basically what the leftovers of Dirty Looks. It's got Dave Beeson, who's also in Broken Teeth with me, and it's of course Paul Idell and Jack Pyers from the Cool from the Wire and Turn of the Screw records.
Nice.
And we're not with Gene Barnett anymore, who I love his drumming and I love his style, and he helped create that sound and everything. We're using my buddy Dave McLean, who was in Machine Head for 23 years, and he just left Sacred Reich. He was in Sacred Reich for decades as well. So he's from San Antonio, Dave McLean, and I've been fronting the original members of San Antonio Slayer, and we played some festivals
Mhm.
this year and late last year. Or actually, they were both this earlier this year. Um, so Dave McLean, I've known forever, great drummer, and Hot Shot is in the vein of that sound. And there are 2 songs for people to go check out on all streaming platforms right now. The band is called Hot Shot with umlauts. So make sure it's the Hot Shot with
Okay.
umlauts.
Hmm.
And the songs, one's called Catwalk and one's called Digging for Diamonds. So people can check that out. If you like Dirty Looks, it's a no-brainer.
Well, your looks are great.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love Dirty Looks.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I mean the Night Terror thing is awesome and that's out and rocking, and New Dangerous Toys came out today. And let's see what else. I'm writing with some unknown people. I'm writing my own I've got my own stuff going on. Um, Igniter started writing again. Earlier this year, we put out a record called Horns and Hammers, and you
Right.
can get a US version of that that has a cover of Saxon's Machine Gun from revoltvinylrecords.com. And you can get that on bloody vinyl or you can get it on plain silver CD.
Nice.
And that's some great angry power metal, if I don't say so myself. And there's videos. We did a bunch of videos for songs on there. We did Horns and Hammers, Imperial Bloodlines, and Shattered Crosses. So that'll give you an inkling as to what Igniter might sound like too. Those just song titles alone.
Cool.
So you
Nice.
see the Night Terror song titles are a little bit more emo than than the titles of for loss of terminology, right? When you
Mm.
compare to Igniter, it's not the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Not the emo music, not like emo death metal. Yeah, no,
No,
I know what
just
you mean.
emotional. Behind the Leaves is about the life of and the creed of a samurai warrior. Die for the master, right?
Hmm.
And see, that could be an opera. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably is an opera. And then, Terrors in the Night is about ghosts, and, the remedies and the poison might get a little political here and there. So,
That's great stuff.
Great.
Well, and
different.
I'm going to say also, I do hope we hear more of the your Elton John like material that you're coming from. I know I shouldn't say that at Metal Asylum, but I'm excited for everything you said, but that too, for sure, man. That
I'm
sounds
really proud. I'm really proud
incredible.
of, that side of me that people don't know. And one day I would like to introduce that. I mean, if I put out my country stuff now, people would be like, "Holy crap," because they're not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
And it's silly twang twang, Willie Nelson on a bad day. I love Willie Nelson and Elton John, two of my favorite songwriters. Trying to put all that together and then separate and put them together somehow. I don't know. I mean, maybe I can make a record of my sort of 70s Elton vibe stuff mixed with my country kind of
Mm.
thing. I don't know. I'm trying new things and wow, I'm scaring myself because people I don't know are walking into the control room and going, "Who is this?" And I'm sitting there.
Mm.
And the engineer's going, "Jason McMaster." And they're like, "Wait, what? Wait, this is you?" So, yeah. High
Cool.
hopes.
Awesome.
High hopes, and I'm having fun being a songwriter. So, that's you know what? All this we're talking about is awesome. It's my passion. I love it. But
That's
when
why you
you
do
can
it.
but when you can scare someone with a song,
Yeah. Surprise
pretty
them with something that's out of the ordinary for you. Yeah. It's
pretty
cool.
pretty fun
Yeah.
and makes you sort of think different, and
Yeah.
it shows growth as well. Because I'm ready to write songs about my dick again too, and I love Satan and everything, but writing Christmas songs for grandma is also
Cool.
awesome and
Yeah,
and
man.
difficult to do in the right way and in
Yeah.
the process where like I said, like I explained before, something that is gonna, I want people to be at Target and hear my Christmas song. So it's geared to an audience without it being geared to an audience.
Yeah.
Great stuff, man.
Yeah.
Rich,
We'll keep in touch and we'll look forward to that stuff.
Awesome. Well, I hope it sees the light.
Yeah.
yeah, well,
All
we'll
right.
do our part. Well, thanks, guys. I mean, I'll shut up. I've talked
Thanks,
a lot.
Jason.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Rich. Why don't you guys take
Yes.
us out?
My pleasure.
Yeah. Jason, take us out.
Well, I'm Jason McMaster with my buddy Jack and Rich signing off for Metal Asylum and whatever else this is. Fun stuff. That's all you need to know. Boom, daddy.